Facing new legal issues, we just got our hands on a lawsuit filed against the theme park company just 1 week after a man died while riding a roller coaster there.
An arrest has been made in that Point Siena road rage incident. Details ahead.
And we're continuing to track disturbance near the Caribbean. Could develop close to the Florida coast over the next couple of days. We're going to pinpoint the latest modeling and the latest forecast for you coming up in a few minutes.
Streaming on clickorlando.com and broadcasting live, you're watching News 6 at 4 p.m.
We start News 6 at 4 with breaking news. Just as family and friends get ready to hold a funeral for the man who died after riding a roller coaster at Epic Universe, we're learning Universal is now facing a lawsuit from a different person who claims she was injured on the same roller coaster, the Stardust Racers. First, a reminder of that fatal incident. 32-year-old Kevin Rodriguez Zavala died last week of multiple blunt impact injuries after riding the roller coaster at Epic Universe. The incident report noted he had a pre-existing spinal injury. The man's family has hired civil rights attorney Ben Crump, but they have not yet filed a lawsuit. But another person has filed a lawsuit for a completely separate incident. News 6 investigator Mike DeForest has just gotten his hands on that lawsuit. Mike, what does it say?
Well, Lisa, a woman named Sandy Streets just filed this lawsuit against Universal Orlando, claiming she was injured while riding the Stardust Racers back in April. Now, again, as you mentioned last week, a man died on that same roller coaster at Universal's new Epic Universe theme park. According to this new lawsuit, while riding defendant Universal's Stardust Racers roller coaster, plaintiff Sandy Streets' head shook violently and slammed into her seat's headrest throughout the duration of the ride. Now, Streets claims that she suffered permanent injuries during that ride on Stardust Racers back in April. She accuses Universal of failing to warn her that her head would be shaken and slammed against the headrest. Now, for a little perspective, personal injury lawsuits like this one against theme parks are not uncommon. This one is noteworthy, though, because Epic Universe and this particular roller coaster have only been open to the public about 4 months. In fact, this woman's alleged injuries occurred before the theme park's grand opening during previews. Also, this lawsuit comes just 1 week after that man died on the same roller coaster under mysterious circumstances. Now, Universal Orlando has not yet responded to this lawsuit, which was just filed yesterday. In fact, it does not even appear the company has been formally served with this litigation yet. Reporting live in the newsroom, Mike DeForest, News 6. Back to you.
All right, Mike, thank you. Meantime, tomorrow, friends and family will honor Rodriguez Zavala's life. It's been 1 week now since workers found him unresponsive on the Stardust Racers ride. Yesterday on News 6 at 4, we told you how his family has now hired high-profile attorney Ben Crump. They are pushing to see the autopsy results and any available video from Universal. Rodriguez Zavala's funeral will be held at a funeral home on South John Young Parkway in Kissimmee from 10:30 in the morning until 2 tomorrow afternoon. His family is inviting the public to attend, and streamers from around the country are expected to be there as well, as he was really active in the video game streaming community. Investigators say they have arrested the man accused of shooting 2 people in a road rage incident. Now, this shooting unfolded on Tuesday afternoon at the intersection of Cypress Parkway and Marigold Avenue in Point Siena. Not too long ago, the Osceola County Sheriff held a press conference. Your Osceola County community correspondent Laverne McGee is live at the Osceola County Sheriff's Office with the latest on this case. Laverne.
Yes, they were really worried about catching this guy because they didn't want him to do this to anybody else, and they found him in Miami.
We don't know each other, so this is truly a straight road rage incident and just a pure terror on the highway.
The sheriff's office says it was around 2 p.m. on Tuesday when a driver and his passenger were shot during a road rage confrontation on Cypress Parkway. Deputies responded to HCA Florida Point Siena Medical Center, where the victims had driven themselves for treatment. The victim's vehicle is a black Ford Expedition and had its back window shot out and the front window damaged. According to the sheriff's office, the 40-year-old man driving the Ford Expedition and his 39-year-old cousin were traveling on Cypress Parkway when they encountered another vehicle. Both vehicles stopped and the shooter approached the Ford Expedition, yelling at the driver, according to the sheriff's office. The shooter fired 3 times at the Ford Expedition, grazing the driver's head and striking the passenger in the head.
This is our shooter here. It's Jose Gabriel Estacio. He's born in 1995. He's 30 years old. And we have active warrant for him. Attempted murder, discharging a firearm from a vehicle, and then shooting into an occupied vehicle as well.
His girlfriend drove him to Miami, and right now he is in Miami-Dade County Jail. He'll be extradited back here to Osceola County.
What if the rounds had escaped this vehicle into another vehicle, to shot anybody that's innocent, because this guy's a raging maniac.
The investigation is continuing. They say more charges could be coming. I asked about the girlfriend, whether or not she knew when she drove him to Miami if he indeed was wanted by the law. They could not comment on that. Reporting live in Osceola, I'm your Osceola community correspondent, Laverne McGee, News 6.
Laverne, thank you. We are also keeping a close eye on the tropics tonight. Meteorologist Jonathan Kagas joins us now with what we need to know about this system that could get pretty close to Florida, Jonathan.
Yeah, it's likely going to be real close as we move over the next couple of days. Still optimistic that it stays off of our shores, but it's likely going to be gaining strength as it moves parallel. We'll share the latest models on that in a second. Here is the storm itself. It's pounding parts of the Dominican Republic with some very heavy rain. Most of the thunderstorm action south of the Dominican Republic. The circulation, though, is on the north side over water. So over the next 24 hours, give or take, we're going to see this lift up closer to the Turks and Caicos, and then that's when it's going to have its shot to develop. Latest modeling certainly changed, and again, this is what we talked about over the last couple of days, that once we start to get Hurricane Hunter data, which we do have, the modeling going to get better because we're watching those twin systems together. But you see through the Turks and Caicos into the Bahamas and then lifting parallel to the Florida coast, and there has been much more consensus of this being pulled back into the southeast corner of the United States. There's certainly still some wiggle room in between northeast Florida and into the Carolina coastline for any kind of potential landfall with this. So again, watching it closely, and developments are going to be continuing through the weekend. In terms of what's going on right now, we do have some bigger thunderstorms out there, especially for us around Daytona Beach, just north of New Smyrna Beach right now. As these are moving from west to east, we're likely going to see a much more widespread thunderstorm evening, unlike what we saw last night, more similar to what we saw on Tuesday. We're going to talk much more about that. I'll show you a future radar to plan your evening and into the end of your weekend, or end of the work week, coming up at about 4:17, Lisa.
All right, Jonathan, thank you. Deputies say they have arrested 2 men in the investigation into an 18-year-old woman's death. They say the shooting happened near the intersection of Sand Lake Road and Lil Will Avenue in Orange County. They found Caramar Rios shot inside a crashed vehicle. They took her to the hospital, where investigators say she died. Today, deputies said they arrested 20-year-old Jonathan Martinez and 21-year-old Joshua Rodriguez. They are charged with second-degree murder. Investigators did not say what led up to the woman's death. The town council in Eatonville says they were left in the dark about the mayor's agreement with a charity to purchase a historic piece of land. Earlier this week, News 6's Ginger Gadsden broke the story about plans for the Hungerford School site. She is back in Eatonville tonight, uncovering new details of backlash against this deal. And Ginger, the town council is about to hold an emergency meeting on this deal.
Yeah, Lisa, that meeting is scheduled to happen at 6:30 this evening. And what sounded like, that proposal sounded like a very sweet deal for a lot of people, but now it's hitting a sour note apparently with some people. We were the first ones to tell you on Tuesday about the proposed deal that Mayor Angie Gardner struck with Dr. Phillips Charities and OCPS to acquire that 117 acres in Eatonville that has been at the center of controversy for a long time. But some town council members say they were not included in those plans, and we received a press release this afternoon or this morning about this emergency meeting. And let's read you a little part of what that press release says. It says members of the town council feel that this is an elaborate scheme orchestrated by the Dr. Phillips Foundation to acquire the Robert Hungerford property. And I can tell you right now, when I spoke to Terry Prather, who and return that property to them in a way that agrees with everyone in the town. This property has been at the center of controversy for decades now. I also caught up with the vice mayor today and asked him what he didn't like about the proposed deal.
So the deal, as you understand it, is not probably what you guys would have voted for.
Some of the stuff, yeah, definitely. In the MOU, what I read, I don't think I would have supported some of those things in there. Like pavilion, those things there, that was in the MOU. So those things I definitely wouldn't have supported, because that's not what the town really was asking for.
Even though that's what some of the townspeople at some of those listening sessions, part of the master plan.
I think it was an amphitheater, not a pavilion. That was more what I was on. I'm on a state-of-the-art amphitheater, not a pavilion. and green space.
So that's what we're talking about. There are certain parts of that deal the vice mayor says that they never agreed upon. And so tonight at the emergency meeting that the town council has called, it'll be right here at the Denton Johnson Community Center in Eatonville, where people in the community will have a chance. They'll have 3 minutes to come up and speak and say what they want from this plan, and then we'll figure out how to move forward. But Tuesday is that school board vote for OCPS. OCPS will be voting on moving forward with this plan with the Dr. Phillips Charities. And if that changes, the changes will have to happen tonight. We don't know, but we, of course, will be here to bring you the very latest. And coming up at 5 o'clock, we'll hear from Mayor Angie Gardner from that interview that we did with her earlier this week when she first told us about this proposal that she thought was the best plan for Eatonville. Lisa, back to you.
And Ginger, just real quickly, because we lost your audio just for a few seconds, but I know you went back to the Dr. Phillips Center to ask them, or the Dr. Phillips Foundation, to ask them about, their thoughts about what they're hearing in the aftermath of this. And what did they tell you about that?
Yeah, so Chairman Terry Prather, we spoke with him on Tuesday, and he said their intention is to not make a profit off of this. They want to do what the people of Eatonville have been asking them for the past 18 months because they've held these listening sessions. And once they do those plans in steps, then all of it will be returned to the town of Eatonville. They don't even own the property right now, but that could change after all of this is done in that vote on Tuesday.
All right, I know you will continue to be following it very closely tonight and in the days to come. Ginger, thank you. A discussion to name roads after Charlie Kirk is starting to gain traction in Central Florida. Why one local city decided against it, while another community is getting ready to make changes. That's coming up.
If you shop on social media platforms, listen up. An Orange County couple who lost their life savings shares their story of deception that started on Facebook Marketplace. I'm News 6 investigator Louis Bolden. The story is coming up.
News 6 Insider is sponsored by Orange County Library System.
I'm Joey Manna, one of your News 6 Insider guides to Central Florida. And right now, if you go to clickorlando.com/insider, you can see the very first episode of Everyday Wild, where I take you up close and personal with those little lizards doing push-ups in your driveway. Signing up to be a News 6 Insider is free, it's easy, and it's the only way you can see Kara Moeller and I explore Central Florida. Go binge watch all the videos, and don't forget to nominate your favorite teacher for the News 6 Educator of the Week. As always, you can sign up to be a News 6 Insider at clickorlando.com/insider.
Sponsored by Orange County Library System.
News 6 uncovers a disturbing trend of online vehicle scams targeting hardworking families. I'm News 6 investigator Louis Bolden. An Orange County couple who lost their life savings shares their story of deception that started on Facebook Marketplace. It's a warning for anyone who shops on social media platforms.
Yeah, I bought it out in Mount Dora with 30,000 miles on it.
Jeffrey Colketty enjoys his 2002 Chevy Avalanche so much.
These are all toolboxes.
He decided he wanted a newer version,
And
just like it.
The back actually comes out.
He says his search took him to Facebook Marketplace, where he thought he found the perfect vehicle.
So I found this one on the internet. Okay. 8,000 mile one. Thought it was a great deal. The guy called me back. We talked. You know, he's telling me how nice the truck is, pristine.
The company then sent the vehicle's Carfax report and a purchase agreement. The seller was Driveline Motor. The sale price, $12,300, and it was signed by the CEO. Colketty and his wife were ready to go.
At any point, did you feel something might be off?
No.
Jeffrey wired the $12,000 and the signs of fraud emerged. The company's website disappeared, phone numbers were disconnected, and emails vanished. It was all the savings the couple had.
I lived my whole life, never had a savings account. That was the first savings account I ever had. Excuse me.
The crooks used a name similar to a real business. Instead of Driveline Motor Cars, they used Driveline Motor. According to the FTC, the amount of money Americans lose to fraud increases every year. In 2024, it was $12.5 billion, a 25% increase from the year before.
Shame on them. Shame on Facebook. They shouldn't even have a marketplace.
Trusting someone online, especially on a social site, you have to do the vetting.
Holly Sammons is the president of the Better Business Bureau of Central Florida. She says people assume that social sites have protections in place to prevent fraud.
It had everything on it.
They don't.
The social site is not going to do the vetting for you. Just because there's a listing doesn't mean anyone has done any sort of vetting. That's on you.
She says when it comes to high-ticket items, don't send more money than you can afford to lose. And definitely don't send money without seeing and inspecting the item first. And if possible, use a credit card instead of wiring cash.
I mean, now I know. Now I know. I'll never buy nothing without seeing it again.
Remember, don't fall for the scheme, don't get ripped off. But if you do, email me at theinvestigators@wkmg.com. I'm Louis Bolden, News 6.
All right, we want to check in now again with meteorologist Jonathan Kagas because, of course, we've been talking a lot about the tropics,
Right.
but we also have some activity on the radar right now.
Exactly, yeah, some heavier stuff too. A lot of lightning, very heavy rainfall. So I want to get you to the radar as well. But watching this cell hanging out in Volusia County, this has been close to New Smyrna Beach, Port Orange, Daytona Beach. Look at all the lightning associated with the lightning tracker over my shoulder there, 130 some strikes, and it continues to go up there. You can track these storms, by the way, with the free News 6 weather app as this continues to work toward Ponce Inlet. So again, early heads up, you have some light rain, but the heaviest stuff is pushing into New Smyrna Beach. I'm watching this closely for Edgewater if this continues to expand southward down I-95. We have some downpours closer to Lake Helen and Casadega, and all of this is increasing as well. We talked about this yesterday, that we would likely see the higher opportunity for rain, especially along the I-4 corridor, and it's pretty much taking a trip right down I-4. Altamont Springs into Longwood on the west side of town, on the west side of I-4, closer to Wekiva Springs State Park and into Apopka. That's where we have the downpours developing. developing. These guys are likely going to push to the east as well. Want to take it further into West Orange County, Ocoee, and Winter Garden. We have some of the moderate rain sliding through as well, and also a couple of lightning strikes. Expecting this to continue again through the bulk of the evening. There's 7 o'clock, and everything starts to push back towards the I-4 corridor, right between I-4 and I-95, and then eventually we'll watch things fizzle out. Some of these could linger towards 9, 10 o'clock tonight, right in that triangle of I-4 and I-95. So we'll be watching that through the evening for you guys. And then once we get into tomorrow, I think we start things off dry as we get ready to end the work. We can start the weekend. We're going to be watching for some evening thunderstorms again. That's going to be 7 to 8 o'clock. West Coast sea breeze pushes towards I-95, and it's going to be between I-4 and I-95 with at least the most widespread storm chances as we move into tomorrow. Cool shot here at Port Canaveral with our launch credit union camera. All is quiet weather-wise. Temperatures back to the upper 80s. The station is reporting the showers and downpours that are nearby, but right at the port, we are looking pretty good. We're at 89 in Mount Dora, much cooler in Wildwood and in the villages thanks to those thunderstorms that are out there. Now here's a look at tomorrow.
Your forecast is sponsored by Renewal by Anderson.
Temperatures tomorrow back to the lower 90s. We're keeping things steamy. Rain chances staying back to 50%, so keeping things on the elevated side. There are these twin storms we continue to talk about. This is the disturbance that we're most focused on in the Caribbean. That one does not have a name yet. That's Umberto. That one is going to stay away. Likely, though, going to influence the evolution of the Caribbean system that we continue to talk about right now. Watch this evolution. This is the Euro model, and this would be pretty wild if it does end up like this. And most model guidance now does show the developing hurricane over the Turks and Caicos and Bahamas kind of riding parallel to the Florida coast, and then Umberto very close by. That's 2 o'clock on Monday, and you see it getting pretty close to the southeast corner of the United States. There's still a lot to iron out over the next couple of days as this leaves the Dominican Republic. We'll keep you posted. Again, cautiously optimistic that the worst of this stays just off the Florida coast. 60% shot for thunderstorms on Saturday, 50% chance on Sunday. As that system passes by, though, it does pull in some drier air for early next work week, Lisa.
Jonathan, thank you. A local city has decided it will not rename a roadway after Charlie Kirk, at least not yet. We'll take a look at the debate while another local community moves forward with a road dedication. That's next.
This portion of the news is sponsored by Light Orlando, delivering hope together.
One local mayor's plan to rename a street in Melbourne after Charlie Kirk is hitting a roadblock. We first told you about the proposal last week. The mayor's idea to change Cypress Avenue to Charlie Kirk Lane failed to gain support last night. Council members and neighbors talked about his lack of local ties and how some view his comments as divisive. Some argued the street should honor local heroes or veterans. Earlier this week, Lake County leaders decided to rename a stretch of Schofield Road in Kirk's honor. That came after an hours-long emotional and sometimes explosive debate. 3 people were escorted out. Still, leaders there voted unanimously to push it forward. Open carry is now officially legal in Florida, but you still cannot have a gun in certain public places. We'll explain next.
Manatee deaths are picking up in the state again, with the coast of Central Florida leading in the rankings again. I'm Molly Reed. Coming up, I'm going to tell you what they say is the cause behind it this time.
Welcome back. We are following several top stories right now. A lawsuit over the Stardust Racers roller coaster at Epic Universe. This is not related to the death of a man last week. Instead, a woman named Sandy Streets claims she is suffering from permanent injuries after riding the coaster back in April. She accuses Universal of failing to warn her that her head would be shaken and slammed against the Universal Orlando has not responded to our request for comment. An update on the road rage incident where 2 people were shot on the Cypress Parkway in Point Siena on Tuesday. The suspect, 30-year-old Jose Astacio, was arrested in South Florida. Astacio is facing multiple charges, including attempted murder, and is expected to be extradited to Osceola County. The town of Eatonville is having an emergency town council meeting tonight regarding the historic Hungerford property. The mayor has struck a deal with Dr. Phillips Charities. They would buy the 117-acre property with plans to return it to the community. The council wants to consider adopting a resolution clarifying the town's official position at their meeting tonight at 6:30. Manatee deaths in Florida are picking up in numbers, with Brevard and Volusia counties seeing the most in the state. Your Volusia County community correspondent Molly Reed went to the experts to find out why.
Edgewater here is where the Indian River Lagoon starts, and then it extends all the way south through Brevard County. So far this year, 109 manatees have died in Brevard County, the highest in the state, with Volusia County trailing right behind in the rankings with 31 so far this year.
Report them when they see them injured or sick in particular. I think we're still not over by any means the issues with their food and their diet and so forth.
Dr. Patrick Rose is the executive director of the Save the Manatee Club, a Maitland-based nonprofit organization dedicated to researching and helping the sea cows. Florida just a few months ago got out of what the state declared an unusual mortality event of manatees. It started in 2021 when a record number of the sea cows died, mostly here in the lagoon, because algae blooms killed the seagrass they eat. They were starving to death.
The starvation issue is over for now, but what caused it is not fixed. So it could happen again. So yes, we've seen recovery of some of the seagrass, by no means what was there before.
So what's killing them now? Well, Dr. Rose says, for one, they're seeing a record number of boating-related deaths.
We're up almost 100 manatees from last year.
But there is also a lot of unknown causes they can't figure out yet, and they're working with researchers across the state to get answers. In Florida, 547 manatees have died in 2025 so far. During the same time frame previously, 457 died in 2024 and 468 in 2023. Rose says right now his team is also keeping their eyes on what's happening federally and in the state to protect the animals.
They're reviewing the Marine Mammal Protection Act and those protections that are afforded to manatees and other marine mammals, such as whales and so forth, and dolphins. And then again, the Endangered Species Act is also something that is being looked at for cutbacks.
I'm your Volusia County community correspondent Molly Reed, News 6.
Open carry is now officially the law in Florida. Just 2 weeks ago, an appeals court ruled the state's ban on open carry was unconstitutional. Today is the first day people can carry their guns out in the open. As News 6's Stephanie Rodriguez explains, there are still places where guns are not allowed.
While open carry is the law now in Florida, there are places that people are federally banned from having firearms. But when it comes to the state, the rules aren't clear yet.
So the statute prohibiting open carry is gone.
Attorney James Phillips is a partner at Orlando's firearm firm with an expertise on the Second Amendment.
We had a case that came out of the First District Court of Appeals on September the 10th that found that that ban on open carry violates the Second Amendment, therefore is unconstitutional.
And Florida was kind of an outlier in the United States when it came to open carry.
Yeah, there was only a handful of states, with Florida being one of them, that had a blanket ban on open carry.
While the ruling cleared the way for open carry, it didn't provide any stipulations as to where people can't open carry, and that could be an issue.
This didn't go through the legislative process. We didn't have a bill that was signed into law that said, hey, open carry has been revoked, but here are the parameters for it.
Florida law already bans carrying of guns in places like legislative meetings and polling places. That hasn't changed. Also, federal law prohibits guns in places like schools, police stations, post offices, and federal courthouses.
What we advise people to do is somewhat abide by the prohibited locations for CWFL holders. That's the safest bet. Until we get a little bit more direction, I assume there's going to be a lot of legislative bills coming out relatively quickly to address prohibited locations.
Now, if you go on private property and the owner prohibits firearms, they can ask you to leave. And if you don't, you could face a felony charge. Reporting in Orlando, Stephanie Rodriguez, News 6.
Sean Diddy Combs appeared in court again today for a hearing to decide how much longer he will remain in prison. Combs was convicted on prostitution-related charges in July and has already served 13 months. His lawyers argue he should be released soon, citing good behavior and a maximum sentence of 14 months. Prosecutors want him to serve several more years, with the judge signaling toward a lengthy sentence. Combs was found guilty of arranging interstate travel for prostitution. CBS News has learned federal prosecutors are close to making a decision on whether to seek an indictment against former FBI Director James Comey. President Trump has publicly called on his attorney general to look into Comey as a key deadline nears. Natalie Brand has the details.
Bad things. He was a terrible person, did terrible things.
For years, President Trump has clashed with former FBI Director James Comey, who he fired during his first term.
Clapper and Comey and that whole group of criminals, they're criminals, and they made it very tough. You know, they did the fake Russia witch hunt that lasted for 2 years.
Multiple sources tell CBS News federal prosecutors are now considering bringing a case against Comey before a grand jury. There are reports they're looking into charging him with lying to Congress when he testified in 2020 about the FBI's investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election.
I stand by what the testimony you summarized that I gave in May of 2017.
The 5-year statute of limitations runs out Tuesday, and just days ago, President Trump publicly urged Attorney General Pam Bondi to look into Comey and other political opponents. He posted on social media, "Justice must be served now." Over the weekend, the president also ousted the U.S. Attorney of the Eastern District of Virginia, the office handling the case. A former personal attorney to Trump, Lindsay Halligan, is now serving as the interim head there.
You don't want a universe in which that pressure distorts the prosecutorial judgment and makes prosecutors make charging decisions based not on the evidence, but on what they think will please the president.
A grand jury would have to approve an indictment. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
Well, attention pumpkin spice latte lovers. Getting your pumpkin spice treat this fall could be a little harder for some Starbucks customers. Today, the coffee company announced they are closing hundreds of stores and laying off about 900 corporate positions. That's on top of the roughly 1,000 layoffs earlier this year. But economists say the slim down of Starbucks is not necessarily a sign of economic trouble. New data from the Commerce Department reports the U.S. economy is expanding. Gross domestic product grew at almost 4% in the second quarter.
The big questions going forward really are, what is the strength of the job market, whether unemployment goes substantially higher from here, and of course the one thing that essentially all consumers want to be absolved of, inflation.
Americans are still opening their wallets despite ongoing fears about the economy, tariffs, and a cooling job market. A decades-long push by business groups appears to be paying off for them next week with the end of Florida's business rent tax. The sales tax on commercial leases in place for 57 years will go away starting October 1st as part of a tax package passed in June. The tax started back in 1968 at 4% and rose to 6% over time. Legislators have been slowly cutting the rate in response to business opposition. The elimination is expected to save businesses over $1 billion this fiscal year, rising to $1.5 billion next year.
This was a $3 billion tax, and Florida was the only state in the country that's had it. And so by Florida eliminating the business rent tax, it's going to lower the cost of doing business in Florida, which will help lower the cost of living here.
The president of Florida's Chamber of Commerce says the tax put Florida at a competitive disadvantage with other states for decades. It was a busy morning along the Space Coast.
3, 2, 1, ignition. And liftoff. Go Falcon, go Starlink.
Around 4:40 this morning, SpaceX launched another batch of 28 Starlink satellites into orbit using their Falcon 9 rocket. It lifted off at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station's Space Launch Complex 40. This launch marked the 22nd flight for the first stage booster supporting this mission. Then just hours later, around 8 o'clock, the United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket sent another batch of Kuiper satellites into orbit for Amazon. This launch was dubbed Kuiper 3. And don't forget, we want to see your launch pictures and videos. Check out this picture that Daniel sent us showing the Atlas V launch from Rosemont in Orange County. And you can open your camera app, scan that QR code on your screen right now. Click the link to send us your launch pictures and videos, or you can send us a beautiful sunrise, sunset, rain coming down in your neighborhood. Those pictures and videos could end up on TV. You can also go to clickorlando.com/pins and upload your pictures and videos that way. It's a big day for lovers of Asian cuisine.
The Asian mega supermarket H Mart has officially opened its doors in Central Florida. It's not only the first in the state, it's also the largest in the country. I'm News 6's Mark Lehman, and coming up, we're showing you what it's all about.
Thunderstorms are on the move tonight, especially along into the east of I-4 tonight. You see things lighting up, especially along the coast. We're going to track where these storms are headed and break down the tropics coming up at about 4:47.
And before we head to break, we want to remind you to check out our primetime schedule on News 6 Plus. We have a new take on the day's news on News 6 tonight. That's at 9. Go in depth as we track the tropics and answer your weather questions at 9:30. Then watch the late news an hour earlier. It's all tonight on News 6 Plus. And you can download our streaming app for free. Just search WKMG in your smart TV's app store. It's also available on Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TV.
I'm News 6's Mark Lehman, and we're in West Orange County where H Mart has opened its doors for the first time. This is a big deal for Central Florida. You can see how many people have been walking through these doors, and we're learning about why so many are so excited.
2, 3.
It's a moment hundreds waited in line to see and experience. With each cheer greeting shoppers, it's clear H Mart has a lot of fans.
I grew up in New York City, and we had a lot of H Mart, and I'm glad H Mart came down to Orlando. We needed it.
It's the largest Asian supermarket chain in the U.S., and the new location on West Colonial Drive is the first in Florida. What is H Mart going to mean for Orange County?
It means jobs, it means food, and it means opportunity.
Local leaders have been working for years to bring H Mart to Central Florida. It's become a destination for many who love exploring new cuisines.
Just coming to what I would say is like the IKEA of Asian grocery stores is pretty exciting. Extensive produce, extensive seafood selections, but then also a whole food court like a shopping mall in there.
H Mart is also known as a cultural hub, especially for those with ties to Korea and East Asia.
You can find a lot of Korean products that you won't normally find in a normal grocery store, but they also have like other stuff that that are kind of norm to everyone else.
And as locals and visitors come to explore the unique offerings, the hope is that it will have a lasting impact.
We're not just trying to build and grow a business, we're trying to build and grow a community around this business. So when I tell you I'm excited, I'm excited.
And with this being such a large store, there's almost too much to see and experience in just one visit. We put further details about what to expect under this story on clickorlando.com. In Orlando, Mark Lehman, News 6.
Looks really cool. All right, we want to check in now with meteorologist Jonathan Kagas. I'm supposed to be attending a baseball game at 6 o'clock tonight. Not looking too great out there right now, Jonathan.
Depending upon where, if it's anywhere along and west of I-4, I'm a little more optimistic than the stuff further east for us along into the east of I-4. Right now, we do have some heavier thunderstorms, relatively speaking. There's nothing severe, nothing damaging out there, but it's sliding through southwest Orange County through the attractions right now, closer to Oak Ridge. Give it another 15, 20 minutes. We're likely going to see the heavy rain toward the Orlando metro area and eventually Winter Park, Altamont Springs. This is going to be your time right now to take the dog out in Altamont and Longwood. We do have a couple of sprinkles around, but no lightning close by. We do have some lightning hanging around Lake Monroe and Sanford right now. This is all drifting back off towards the north and east, so we're going to see a conglomerate of thunderstorms here closer to Lake Helen, Deltona, Cassadaga. Hope you guys are doing well tonight, watching that heavy rain slide into Lake Helen right now. New Smyrna Beach, I've been watching this storm for you guys. It's flaring up over Samsula right now. We were watching that if we would get more development, which was expected right down I-95, that this would all try to push over towards Edgewater, and this is exactly what we mean to see the lightning strikes out ahead of the developing downpours here for us in Edgewater, New Smyrna Beach. So now not the time to be outside, as we do have lightning striking at a pretty good distance away from the parent thunderstorms tonight. I think this is going to continue as well. There's 9 o'clock, still hanging on to a few stray downpours. The theme is going to be along and about I-4, and then for us to the east, that's where the storms are going to stay. So in Palm Coast through Flagler County, Bunnell, into Marineland, I'll be watching those storms for you guys through the course of the evening. There's 7 to 8 o'clock on your Friday morning. We start things off on the dry side. I think we'll keep things dry through the early afternoon. Then we'll see a couple of downpours get going. Much like today, the theme is going to be from west to east. So that's 7 o'clock, so high school football games tomorrow. I'd be most concerned with any kind of lightning delays. The closer you are to the I-95 corridor and the Atlantic beaches, cautiously optimistic the further west you are by high school football time anyway, that we get those downpours and send them back to the east. There's 11 o'clock. I think most of this stuff starts to wind down as we move into the latter stages of the evening. Now here's a look at your forecast.
Your forecast is sponsored by Ramjack.
Rain chances back up to 50%, especially favoring at least the most widespread stuff, I-4, and then for us along I-95. We'll see a couple of those downpours pop early along the I-75 corridor. We're at 92 tomorrow in Wildwood, Groveland. Good evening. We are back to 92 degrees as well. There are the darker clouds sliding up I-4 that will likely be in the Orlando metro area in the next 15, 20 minutes, give or take. It's a live look with our Light Orlando Delivering Hope Skycam tonight. Temperatures back to around 90. The airport already reporting that thunderstorm that's again on the move tonight. Speaking of on the move, this is the tropical satellite. This is the blob that we are watching. Again, could develop close to Florida. So cautiously optimistic that it kind of skirts the Florida coastline rather than actually coming on shore. But you see the lightning here. Most of the thunderstorms associated with it around the Dominican Republic and into the Caribbean. The center of circulation is up north of the Dominican Republic. So when you see the models initializing there, they have it right. It's not that it's further south, but you see the latest modeling taking it up. Again, optimistic with it staying parallel to the Florida coast, but also watching the aggressive nature of it being pulled back into the southeast corner. Obviously, we don't want it to go anywhere near the United States, but we're going to be watching how it interacts with an upper level trough, a dip in the jet stream. We've been talking about this thing for the last couple of days now. That's Umberto way out there. It's going to be this dip. You see the blue color here. That's what kind of grabs it, snatches it out of the Atlantic, and then tries to rip it back in. If that happens a little sooner, then it could come in a little further south. So again, something that we're watching. So cautiously optimistic, though, for Florida that it kind of just brushes the coast before it would interact with that steering current. So we'll keep it posted. Again, just watching right now. 60% shot for storms on Saturday into Sunday, 30% chance on Monday. Behind that system, drier air does pour in. That's going to take rain chances lower through Tuesday into Wednesday.
All right, Jonathan, thank you. Now to a question for our traffic safety expert. What is a crash truck in construction zones? Trooper Steve has that answer next.
Coming up in the morning, a local city working to improve its emergency response times.
The technology that will get first responders out the door faster than ever before. Plus, double trouble in the tropics.
Yeah, Candace will have the overnight updates and what it means for your weekend plans, especially along the coast.
We'll see you for News 6 mornings starting at 6.
All right, I like this one. What is a crash truck? You refer to it within construction zones. You're right. If you've ever noticed a big truck sitting at the end of a work lane with what looks like a giant yellow bumper strapped to the back, well, that's called a crash truck. Now, officially, it's equipped with what's called a truck-mounted attenuator, or a TMA. That's because it's engineered to absorb the impact of a vehicle that drifts into that work zone, dramatically reducing the force of any type of crash. Now, the truck itself is pretty heavy duty, reinforced, and usually topped with aero boards and flashing lights to guide drivers safely around that crew. So in plain language, it's the bodyguard of the construction site. It's the entire job is to take the hit so that the men and women out there working don't have to. So the next time that you see one just parked there, don't assume it's doing nothing. The truck is the difference between a near miss and a tragedy. Respect the cones, respect the signs, and give the workers and their crash truck the room that they need to keep everyone safe. If you got a traffic safety question you want me to answer it, head to clickorlando.com/AskTrooperSteve.
And don't forget, Trooper Steve and Sandra Ray from XL 106.7 are teaming up for the Red Bull Tandem Roller Coaster competition. On Saturday, 30 teams of 2 will attempt to cross a difficult obstacle course on creatively designed tandem bikes over water without falling in. The competition starts at 11 Saturday morning at Cranes Roost Park in Altamont Springs. News 6 at 5 is up next. Anchor Matt Austin is in the newsroom with what's ahead, Matt.
Well, it turns out a story News 6 broke about a city getting back a key part of its history was also news to a number of city leaders. Why the future of that deal could be in jeopardy. Plus, as more and more Americans say the cost to feed their family is eating up more of the budget, we're looking at why food prices continue to climb. First, though, a lawsuit has been filed against Universal over the ride where someone died last week. This new lawsuit has nothing to do with that case. What we're learning about it tonight. And your forecast is just minutes away. Don't forget, you can stream all of our newscasts and live cameras like this. Look, you're going to have to trust me. It is Daytona Beach. We'll be right back. Now at 5, a lawsuit has been filed against Epic Universe over the Stardust Racers ride, but not related to the man who died at the park last week. What we're learning about that case and what experts are saying about the ride's safety.
What sounded like a sweet proposal has hit a sour note. I'm News 6 anchor Ginger Gadsden in Eatonville, where the town council has called an emergency meeting. They say a proposed deal struck by the mayor between a charity and OCPS is not what they wanted. I'll have details coming up.
And later, manatee deaths on the rise in Central Florida. We're getting to the bottom of why. You're watching News 6 at 5. So tonight we continue to press Universal for answers about what happened the night Kevin Rodriguez Zavala rode the Stardust Racers roller coaster at Epic Universe. Family attorneys say his pre-existing spinal condition had nothing to do with his death.
But Universal maintains everything on the ride worked as it was supposed to, including the seat restraints. Your Orlando community correspondent Mike Valenti is looking into one theory that gained traction yesterday.
There is so much we have yet to review: autopsy results, video footage, none of which has been made available. And with Universal still saying very little, it appears that attorney Ben Crump is trying to drive the narrative.
We want to be clear, unequivocally clear, that he had no medical emergency. He was just fine.
That was attorney Ben Crump Wednesday at a press conference with the family of Kevin Rodriguez Zavala. Crump said that after speaking to witnesses and conferring with experts, his firm is scrutinizing the restraints on the ride.
That is their concern, that the restraints were the issue. But we will find out, hopefully, we will find out more when Universal is transparent to let us see video.
There's still a lot of things to be looking for in this case, and that's because no case is just cut and dry.
Ken Martin has been an amusement ride safety analyst and consultant for decades.
What exactly happened is to be determined at a later date.
In a letter to staff this week, the president and COO of Universal Orlando Resort said everything on the ride worked as intended. The equipment was intact and team members followed procedures. A spokesperson with the Department of Agriculture said the state's findings aligned with Universal's.
They came to that very quickly, was very premature. You've got to get the experts in.
Martin notes that it may very well turn out that the lap restraint functioned as intended, but that does not mean it was the most suitable restraint for Kevin.
It's all going to depend on, number one, your weight, or the proposed weight of the rider. It's going to depend on the way the rider's sitting. It hasn't been that long since we reimagined roller coaster restraints. I think we're going to have to go back to the drawing board.
Universal's Guide for Safety and Accessibility advises riders on Stardust Racers that they should be able to independently maintain an upright position and support their torso, neck, and head while absorbing sudden and dramatic movements. It also advises guests that they must be able to take a small step into the ride vehicle, either independently or with help from a companion. We reached out again to Universal Thursday to ask several questions, including about the claims regarding the restraints. We have yet to hear back. I'm your Orlando community correspondent, Mike Valenti, News 6.
Mike, thank you. News 6 has also learned a lawsuit has just been filed against Universal over that same roller coaster.
That new lawsuit is unrelated to last week's death. News 6 investigator Mike DeForest joins us now live in the newsroom with more on this new lawsuit. So, Mike, what are you learning about this case?
Well, Lisa, a woman named Sandy Streets just filed this lawsuit against Universal Orlando, claiming she was injured on the Stardust Racers back in April. Now, according to this new lawsuit, while riding defendant Universal's Stardust Racers roller coaster, plaintiff Sandy Streets' head shook violently and slammed into her seat's headrest throughout the duration of the ride. Now, Streets claims she suffered permanent injuries. She accuses Universal of failing to warn her that her head would be shaken and slammed against the headrest. Now, for a little perspective, personal injury lawsuits like this one against theme parks are not uncommon. This one is noteworthy because Epic Universe and this particular roller coaster have only been open to the public for about 4 months, and this woman's alleged injuries actually occurred before the park's grand opening during previews. Also, Her lawsuit comes just 1 week after that man died on the same roller coaster under mysterious circumstances. Now, Universal Orlando has not yet responded to this lawsuit, which was just filed yesterday. In fact, it does not even appear the company has been formally served with this litigation yet. Reporting live in the newsroom, Mike DeForest, News 6. Back to you, Lisa.
All right, Mike, thank you. Our meteorologists are following two big weather stories tonight.
Yeah, two systems continue to churn in the Atlantic, including Tropical Storm Humberto, as well as storms across central Florida tonight.
Meteorologist Jonathan Kagas is in for us tonight. And Jonathan, what is the bigger concern right now?
Definitely going to be the storms that we have out there. I'm still cautiously optimistic that the system that eventually does develop is going to stay off of our coast. It's not a foregone conclusion at this point, but we'll get into that in just 1 second. We are watching some stronger thunderstorms. That's where the boxes are highlighted for us in the Palm Coast. We'll take you up I-95. Watching this for you guys around Palm Coast, Flagler Beach. A lot of lightning in this cell. Again, 38 strikes in the last 10 minutes. Just with this cell alone that continues to work its way towards the coast, almost to I-95 right now. We're on I-95 right now. Again, Palm Coast, heads up as we continue to watch this stronger thunderstorm work its way to Flagler Beach. Bunnell, DuPont, we are getting involved in that as well. Let me take you back down I-95 as we're watching this stronger thunderstorm kind of teeter the line between Seminole County and Volusia County going forward. This is going to head towards eventually Oak Hill into New Smyrna Beach. We'll talk much more about where these are headed the rest of your evening, the weekend, and of course we'll have the latest on the tropics coming up at about 5:17, guys.
Jonathan, thank you. News 6 anchor Ginger Gadsden broke the story on Tuesday that Eatonville's mayor reached a proposed deal with Orange County Public Schools to return the historic Hungerford property back to Eatonville.
Just days after Ginger's story, other leaders in Eatonville say the whole thing surprised them. Ginger joins us live now in Eatonville, and now this whole deal could be in jeopardy. Ginger.
Yeah, Matt, we will have to see what happens. They have called an emergency meeting, and by they, I mean the town council of Eatonville. When we first told you about this, the exclusive deals of this proposed deal, it seemed like the answer a lot of people in Eatonville had wanted and had been hoping for a long time. Well, none of those people include the ones who are on the town council who say this deal happened behind their backs and in the dark, and they were taken by surprise, especially when they learned of some of the details. And this morning we woke up to news that they were holding this emergency meeting, and they sent out a press release. Here's part of what the press release says from some of the town council. It says members of the town council feel this was an elaborate scheme orchestrated by the Dr. Phillips Foundation to acquire the Robert Hungerford property. That we're talking about 117 acres of prime real estate. Well, I just spoke to Eatonville's vice mayor about this. Here's what he had to say.
It seems like there's already been a proposed deal struck with Dr. Phillips Charities and the Orange County School Board.
I think we need to renegotiate and go back to the table with the town council.
So they're having this meeting, emergency meeting at 6:30 over this 117 acres of prime real estate that has been the center of controversy for decades now, Matt and Lisa. And when I spoke to the mayor about the exclusive details, I asked her if she was ready for the pushback she probably would receive. Here's what she had to say. How are you going to reassure residents that what this plan is includes them and is for them?
The future shouldn't just happen by happenstance. The future should happen after planning. And what we have engaged in the past 18 months has been master planning. And the foundational tenets of that master planning were the citizens and their wishes.
And she's talking about 18 months of having a listening tour and having people of Eatonville come out and tell the community what they actually want to see happen to this prime piece of real estate. That now the proposed deal struck by the mayor with Dr. Phillips Charities and OCPS is scheduled to move forward with a vote on Tuesday at the Orange County School Board meeting. We'll have to see what happens there. But of course, I spoke with Dr. Phillips Charities when we talked about the exclusivity of this deal, and they said that the last thing they want to do is take advantage of anyone, and their goal is to make sure the people of Eatonville get what they deserve and have deserved for decades now, and they will return all of that land back to them. But again, we are here live at the Denton Johnson Community Center where that emergency town council meeting will take place at 6:30. Residents will get a chance to have their say as well. The mayor will be here and the council members, and so will we. We'll bring you the very latest. Matt and Lisa, back to you.
Ginger Gadsden live for us. Thank you. Well, earlier this week, we told you about the terrifying moments a driver and his passenger were shot in Poinciana by someone in another car.
The Osceola County Sheriff says they have the suspect responsible for the shooting. News 6's Laverne McGee joins us now from the Sheriff's Office with the details on this. Laverne.
Yeah, they say they're really glad that they got this guy because they were concerned that he was around town with a gun and who knows what else he could have done to somebody else. But they caught him in Miami.
We don't know each other, so this is truly a straight road rage incident and just a pure terror on the highway.
The sheriff's office says it was around 2 p.m. on Tuesday when a driver and his passenger were shot during a road rage confrontation on Cypress Parkway. Deputies responded to HCA Florida Poinciana Medical Center, where the victims had driven themselves for treatment. The victim's vehicle is a black Ford Expedition and had its back window shot out and the front window damaged. According to the sheriff's office, the 40-year-old man driving the Ford Expedition and his 39-year-old cousin were traveling on Cypress Parkway when they encountered another vehicle. Both vehicles stopped and the shooter approached the Ford Expedition, yelling at the driver, according to the sheriff's office. The shooter fired 3 times at the Ford Expedition, grazing the driver's head and striking the passenger in the head.
This is our shooter here. It's Jose Gabriel Estacio. He's born in 1995. He's 30 years old. And we have active warrant for him. Attempted murder, discharging a firearm from a vehicle, and then shooting into an occupied vehicle as well.
His girlfriend drove him to Miami, and right now he is in Miami-Dade County Jail. He'll be extradited back here to Osceola County.
What if the rounds had escaped this vehicle into another vehicle, shot anybody that's innocent, because this guy's a raging maniac.
And the sheriff also told me that this is an active, ongoing investigation and more charges could be coming. I also asked about the man's girlfriend, whether or not she knew that when she was taking him to Miami, whether or not he was running from the law. The sheriff said he couldn't comment on that. Reporting live from Osceola County, Laverne McGee, News 6.
Laverne, thank you. Well, how much of your paycheck goes to putting food on the table every week? More Americans say it's becoming a bigger expense. Next at 5, we're looking at why that is.
Today's Port Canaveral Cam is sponsored by Launch Credit Union.
There has been no relief as food costs in the U.S. keep rising.
A recent AP poll shows more than half of Americans consider grocery costs to be a major source of stress.
CBS's Jolene Kent hit the aisles to find out what's driving up the prices and how you can save.
A trip to the grocery store is stinging a little more at the checkout.
$16.99 for one pack of pecans. It's insane.
Yeah, it's bad. I can't believe how much some of this stuff costs, actually.
Overall, grocery prices have continued their upward march, rising nearly 3% compared to last year.
Food prices went up by 0.5% from July to August. That's the fastest monthly increase since fall of 2022. It was driven in part by commonly imported groceries.
Tariffs have a huge impact on grocery prices.
Food industry analyst Phil Lempert is known as the supermarket guru.
Why are we seeing these increases?
Number one is climate change. We can't grow our food where we used to grow it. Now it's had to move to Central and Latin America. Number two is a labor shortage. And then third is our tariffs.
Among the biggest price jumps, coffee up more than 20% compared to a year ago.
We got 50% tariffs on coffee from Brazil, and we import about 35% of our coffee beans unroasted from Brazil. Coffee's going to get more expensive.
Grocery prices, they've really been soaring since the pandemic.
Family finance expert Andrea Warrock says the biggest savings start right in your kitchen.
The number one thing that you can do right now is to create a meal plan.
Warrock says that cuts down on waste and keeps credit cards in check. Other tips to shop smart: stick to your grocery list. Compare prices at multiple stores. Choose store brands, which can often be 20 to 30% cheaper. And consider buying and cooking in bulk.
Don't waste food. Take doggy bags from restaurants. Use leftovers. Freeze leftovers.
And use those coupons and frequent shopper cards to stack up the savings. Jolene Kent, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Experts say to keep an eye out for shrinkflation as well. That's when companies put less in a package and either keep prices the same or actually increase them.
It is
Gotta keep an eye on
expensive
that.
every
It
time
is.
you go to the grocery store. All right, let's get you
Yes.
over to meteorologist Jonathan Kegas. You
messed
need
up.
something free to mix with all this expensive stuff. And that's your weather forecast today, Jonathan.
Yeah, you know what else is free? It's that New 6 weather app. You can download that right now and you can track the storms alongside me this evening. You see them right here. The storms, anyway, right along into the south and east of I-4, pushing towards the I-95 corridor. There it is right there, the free New 6 weather app. Give that a download again. Your forecast is there. And, of course, best stuff, lightning detection, all the bells and whistles we use to track these storms are all right there. Flagler Beach, we've been watching this for you. Move out of Bunnell, out of DuPont toward Palm Coast, Marineland. Most of our stuff is light. We have lightning close by, so just be careful if you're heading out again. Just be mindful that there is still lightning near the area, even though the rain is much, much lighter now. Edgewater, watching this cell for you. The heaviest rain should stay to your southwest, but there are still lightning strikes hanging around coming out of Lake Helen on the east side of I-4 now. We're watching some of the stronger stuff in Sanford earlier, about 45 minutes ago. That is now pushed to the east. So again, if you have any plans this evening, baseball games tonight, I think you're going to be okay the further west of I-4 you are. Still watching this downpour, no lightning associated with this one, sliding up I-4 outside of the Orlando metro area, pushing toward the east side of Apopka, Altamont Springs. Just a few light sprinkles around right now, but we're going to get into some heavier stuff in the next 15, 20 minutes. This is moving out of Pine Hills, where we have some of the heavier downpours. There's 7 o'clock tonight. I think Future Radar has the right idea here to push everything closer to the I-95 corridor for the rest of the evening. Really think the same kind of deal as we move into tomorrow. So we'll be watching that for the high school football games along the coast. There's the dark sky right now. Their launch credit union camera, Port Canaveral, sky can't bounce in a little bit. In the breeze as those storms kind of approach the coastline. We're back to the upper 80s right now. We do have some clouds around at the reporting site. The skies are clear. Now here's a look at tomorrow.
Your forecast is sponsored by Payne Law.
Temperatures tomorrow back to the low to mid 90s. Another steamy afternoon, 92 in Groveland, 89 in Cocoa Beach. Good evening in Melbourne. We're back to around 90 tomorrow. Rain chances back up to 50%. So here are those systems we've been talking about in the tropics. We have Umberto hanging way out in the Northeast Caribbean. This is not a concern for us. This is the one that we're watching a little more on the closer side again as it develops, as it lifts out of the Caribbean. The center of this is on the northern coast of the Dominican Republic. Strengthening is going to be likely. Organization going to be likely likely as it moves to the north, closer to the Turks and Caicos, and eventually into the Bahamas. Latest modeling on this, and again, we're going to continue to get more data. Hurricane hunters are doing their thing, getting us the data from inside of the storm and around the environment, but you see that curve back to the coast, and that's why we're watching it. There's a dip in the jet stream that wants to try to tug it back towards land. Of course, we don't want it at all in the United States, but we are watching again for hopefully just a close brush to Florida and this thing stays off, continues to look cautiously optimistic. The one thing it will do as it slides up the coast, we will be in some of the deeper moisture as you see there in the green, but as we're watching the system slide up the coast, notice the brown coming out of the Gulf and across parts of the deep south. As we get into the middle part of next work week, some of that drier air is going to be pumped in by the storm itself. So you're going to see the rain chances go down in your 7-day forecast. Rain chances elevated, though, tomorrow into Saturday, parts of Sunday as well. Watching, again, Monday for a breezy day as hopefully, again, the thing stays offshore. It's still too early to give us the all clear at this point, but, again, cautiously optimistic. This just stays parallel to our coast. 20% shot for a couple of downpours on Tuesday, but that drier air, guys, pushes in early next work week.
Jonathan, thank you. After the break, buying a car is a huge expense, but coming up, one rebate that's soon going away.
Your Thursday evening traffic alert. We're going to keep it nice and simple, the routine things that we're used to seeing. I-4 east and westbound lane closures, not a complete shutdown scheduled between the Turnpike and 528, but on the Turnpike, watch out for lane closures as well on our southern portion, predominantly down in Kissimmee Park area. I'm talking southern Osceola County, down towards the Canoe Creek Service Plaza. I'm Trooper Steve with the News 6 traffic alert. Drive safely, and I'll catch you in the morning.
In the market for a new or used electric vehicle, time is running out to keep the rewards to put extra money back in your pocket. If if you're considering buying an EV, you're down to just a few days to get a deal done to take advantage of significant savings. The federal electric vehicle tax credit, offering up to $7,500 for new EVs and up to $4,000 for used models, officially ends next week on Tuesday, September 30th. To qualify for your rebates, buyers must complete a binding purchase agreement and make a payment by that date. This is a good thing because while delivery can happen after September 30th, it's important to get the time of sale documentation from your seller to document the transaction before the deadline passes. President Trump's recent mandates have accelerated the phase out of EV incentives, which were previously planned to run through 2032. Experts warn ending the program years ahead of schedule will slow EV adoption in the U.S., removing an upfront cost advantage. Despite the federal credits ending, some states and local incentives may still be available, just none here in Florida. In short, the end of federal EV tax credits on September 30th marks a turning point. It's your last chance to save thousands when buying an electric vehicle under federal rules. And if you're not sure what vehicle you're thinking of qualifies for a full, partial, or no rebate, we've put together a guide for you at clickorlando.com/dollars and cents. I'm Donovan Myrie, News 6.
Well, a caregiver is facing charges after someone she was supposed to be keeping an eye on went missing. And as we learned, the man who went missing's family had no idea until we told them.
Yeah, plus, coming up, why manatee deaths are rising once again.
And later, the scheme one business is saying is getting so bad, they're stepping up to try to protect people from it.
Glad you're with us. I'm Lisa Bell.
I'm Matt Austin. You're watching News 6 at 5. We are following several top stories for you right now. Universal Orlando facing a lawsuit related to the Stardust Racers roller coaster. But this has nothing to do with last week's death. Instead, a woman named Sandy Streets claims she's suffering from permanent injuries after riding the coaster back in April. She accuses Universal of failing to warn her that her head would be shaken and slammed against the headrest. Universal Orlando has not responded to our request for comment.
An update on the road rage incident where 2 people were shot on the Cypress Parkway in Poinciana on Tuesday. The suspect, 30-year-old Jose Estacio, was arrested in South Florida. Estacio is facing multiple charges, including attempted murder, and is expected to be extradited to Osceola County. The town of Eatonville is having an emergency town council meeting tonight regarding the historic Hungerford property. The mayor has struck a deal with Dr. Phillips Charities. They would buy the 117-acre property with plans to return it to the community. The council wants to consider adopting a resolution clarifying the town's official position at their meeting tonight at 6:30. And breaking news, President Trump just signed a new executive order clearing a path to let U.S. investors buy about 80% of the platform's U.S. assets. We're talking about TikTok. The order declares the sale meets national security concerns laid out by a law passed last year and signed by President Biden. The president says he has already spoken with China's president about the agreement, which still needs regulatory approval. The expected deal also lays the groundwork for the first in-person meeting between the two leaders since President Trump returned to office. The leaders are expected to meet next month at a summit in South Korea.
Manatee deaths in Florida are rising. Brevard and Volusia counties are seeing the most in the state. The Indian River Lagoon along our coast has struggled over the years with this, but has seemingly been getting better recently after a record-breaking year in 2021 for manatee deaths. With numbers starting to pick back up, our Volusia County community correspondent Molly Reed went to the experts to find out why.
Edgewater here is where the Indian River Lagoon starts, and then it extends all the way south through Brevard County. So far this year, 109 manatees have died in Brevard County, the highest in the state, with Volusia County trailing right behind in the rankings with 31 so far this year.
Report them when they see them injured or sick in particular. I think we're still not over by any means the issues with their food and their diet and so forth.
Dr. Patrick Rose is the executive director of the Save the Manatee Club, a Maitland-based nonprofit organization dedicated to researching and helping the sea cows. Florida just a few months ago got out of what the state declared an unusual mortality event of manatees. It started in 2021 when a record number of the sea cows died, mostly here in the lagoon, because algae blooms killed the seagrass they eat. They were starving to death.
The starvation issue is over for now, but what caused it is not fixed. So it could happen again. So yes, we've seen recovery of some of the seagrass, by no means what was there before.
So what's killing them now? Well, Dr. Rose says, for one, they're seeing a record number of boating-related deaths.
We're up almost 100 manatees from last year.
But there is also a lot of unknown causes they can't figure out yet, and they're working with researchers across the state to get answers. In Florida, 547 manatees have died in 2025 so far. During the same time frame previously, 457 died in 2024 and 468 in 2023. Rose says right now his team is also keeping their eyes on what's happening federally and in the state to protect the animals.
They're reviewing the Marine Mammal Protection Act and those protections that are afforded to manatees and other marine mammals, such as whales and so forth, and dolphins. And then again, the Endangered Species Act is also something that is being looked at for cutbacks.
I'm your Volusia County community correspondent Molly Reed, News 6.
Open carry is now the law in Florida. Weeks after a court ruled the state's ban on open carry is unconstitutional. So today is the first day people can carry their guns out in the open.
News 6's Stephanie Rodriguez explains what limitations the changing rule comes with.
While open carry is the law now in Florida, there are places that people are federally banned from having firearms. But when it comes to the state, the rules aren't clear yet.
So the statute prohibiting open carry is gone.
Attorney James Phillips is a partner at Orlando's firearm firm with an expertise on the Second Amendment.
We had a case that came out of the First District Court of Appeals on September the 10th that found that that ban on open carry violates the Second Amendment, therefore is unconstitutional.
And Florida was kind of an outlier in the United States when it came to open carry.
Yeah, there was only a handful of states, with Florida being one of them, that had a blanket ban on open carry.
While the ruling cleared the way for open carry, it didn't provide any stipulations as to where people can't open carry, and that could be an issue.
This didn't go through the legislative process. We didn't have a bill that was signed into law that said, hey, open carry has been revoked, but here are the parameters for it.
Florida law already bans carrying of guns in places like legislative meetings and polling places. That hasn't changed. Also, federal law prohibits guns in places like schools, police stations, post offices, and federal courthouses.
What we advise people to do is somewhat abide by the prohibited locations for CWFL holders. That's the safest bet. Until we get a little bit more direction, I assume there's going to be a lot of legislative bills coming out relatively quickly to address prohibited locations.
Now, if you go on private property and the owner prohibits firearms, they can ask you to leave. And if you don't, you could face a felony charge. Reporting in Orlando, Stephanie Rodriguez, News 6.
All right, Stephanie, thank you. We are learning Longwood police have arrested an employee who was working at a healthcare agency. Police say a disabled man went missing on her watch, and they believe she lied to them during the investigation about just how long he was gone. Your Seminole County community correspondent, Catherine Silver, is looking into what investigators say went wrong and how the man's family is reacting after News 6 told them that story first.
The alert put out by Longwood police was urgent in August. A missing disabled man last seen at Candyland Park.
I take him to the park every Tuesdays and Thursdays, but this is the first time he wandered off.
You're hearing the voice of Natasha Coleman. News 6 got a hold of the police report that says she works for Special Angels Healthcare Agency and took Rayvon Wallace to the park that day after signing him out of a group home.
He was at the basketball court. I just left, told him I'd be right back and going to the bathroom. When I came back, he was gone.
But detectives say Wallace wasn't missing for only a few minutes. They launched drones and a helicopter and started searching the immediate area based on what they say Coleman had told them. They later found out Wallace was seen walking by a nearby home around 9:30 that morning, nearly 6 hours before she called 911. You didn't know about any of this until I called you.
I had no idea, and the family didn't know as well until you called everybody today.
We reached out to an attorney representing Wallace's father after we learned Coleman was arrested by police this week. She is now facing charges for neglect and giving false information to law enforcement.
It seems like maybe a supervision issue in here, especially with time discrepancies. The fact that it's August and you're taking someone to the park for 6 hours in this heat.
Are there red flags that you see just reading through this arrest affidavit?
Unfortunately, yes. It's one of those situations where you've got an adult special needs person and you've got family that very much wants to be involved, very much wants to be in the position of the guardian, and it's been a long road for them.
Police say Wallace was found that same day, visibly exhausted and dehydrated with scrapes on his legs, lost on the trail where he had walked 2 miles to 434 in Rangeline.
According to the affidavit, he was used to walking down that trail, and it sounded like he wanted to go on an adventure and got lost. Unfortunately, I had to break the news to the dad that his son was hospitalized. He had no idea.
When I called Coleman to ask her about the allegations, investigators claim that you gave them false information. She abruptly ended our conversation.
There are a lot of wonderful people that are caregivers, group homeowners, guardians. We all have to work together, and I think the family just really wants to participate in the decision making.
I also reached out to Wallace's guardian because this report says that Coleman worked for a company contracted by them. Special Angels Healthcare has positive reviews on Florida's Developmental Disabilities Resources website. I also called Special Angels because we still have questions for them. Are they aware of Coleman's arrest? Is she caring for anyone else? And have they taken any action? They also hung up on me. If we hear back, we'll let you know. Catherine Silver, News 6.
You took a lot of that out of context because when he was saying
When you say that's the problem. That's the problem. That's the problem with America today. You don't let other people speak.
Tempers flaring last night in the city of Melbourne in a controversy we first covered last week. Since his death, people on social media have been going back and forth over Charlie Kirk. We told you last week Melbourne's mayor proposed renaming a part of Cypress Avenue Charlie Kirk Lane after a business owner there made controversial comments after Kirk's death. She took back what she said, but the mayor said he still wanted to move forward with renaming the street after Kirk. Well, at last night's city council meeting, a lot of people showed up voicing their opinions on both sides, cheering and booing the mayor and city council members. The whole discussion lasted nearly 2 hours. Eventually, leaders said the discussion was too emotional to go forward.
We have half the city screaming at us and the other half of them patting us on the back. That's not what I came into this office for.
The measure failed 3-4. There are a lot of things for sale on Facebook Marketplace, ranging from clothes to furniture, some people even selling food, others bounce house rentals. But we're learning some of those listings may not be legit, and we're looking into how you can spot the difference. That's coming up. Jonathan.
We have a few thunderstorms still lingering out there tonight, especially east of I-4. These are closing in on the coast. Still a few lightning strikes around Palm Coast. More storms developing in parts of Osceola County. We're tracking where these are headed. We'll take a look at the tropics coming up at about 5:47.
And later, we're meeting one of the people who will be judging Trooper Steve's entrance into extreme sports, sort of. And be sure to try out the all-new primetime schedule on News 6 Plus. Ginger and I have a new take on the day's news on News 6 tonight at 9. Go in depth as we track the tropics and answer your weather questions with meteorologist Jonathan Kagas at 9:30. And then you can watch the late news an hour early. It's all tonight on News 6 Plus.
You can download our streaming app for free. Just search WKMG in your smart TV's app store. It's also available on Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TV. Well, if you have young kids, you know how important it is to get everything right for a party. One missing clown or cake and really throw everything for a loop.
Nobody has clowns anymore. And one Central Florida business is sick of it, taking to social media after one too many customers called about bounce house rental scams. West Orange County community correspondent Tylisa Hampton shares the red flags you can look for.
I'm told you should make sure to look out for fake websites, no phone numbers on those sites, or even companies asking for wire transfers. And when it comes to booking things over social media, the Better Business Bureau says that you should think twice.
It's large, bouncy, and often at many kid parties. But the owner of Bouncing Around Rentals says instead of getting calls for just bookings, he is getting told of scams.
I got a call from the customer the other day about some money that she was about to send to a company on Facebook. She was about to send, I think it was a $100 deposit, but it was a scam.
And that call, well, it's not his first, which is why he posted on social media for people to beware.
You'd be surprised how many calls I get a weekly base about people not getting their bounce house, spending all their money, and then, everybody's sad because the bounce house didn't come through.
How often do you all see this type of scam?
We definitely regularly see this kind of scam come through our scam tracker in particular, where folks are, looking to rent a bounce house or tables or chairs.
The Better Business Bureau of Central Florida notes across the state in the past year, over 800 imposter scam tracker reports. As for the last 6 months alone, there were over 500.
Folks find these on social media. It has a lowball offer, a good price, and what we've seen is a lot of folks paying deposits and then they just kind of get ghosted.
What is the solution for people who have gone through something like this?
Make sure you check out that URL. Go look them up on bbb.org. Red flags might be if they only contact you through messaging apps, if they don't have a phone number, if they only want to take certain kinds of payment.
For companies like Bouncing Around, they're hoping creating awareness will help everyone in the end.
This is what we do for a living, and it's sad that we lose customers' faith from people that pretend to have inflatable companies and they're not.
Officials with the Better Business Bureau suggest everyone do their research, and if you do decide to book something over social media, you do so with a credit card, so hopefully you can get some type of recourse. Reporting, I'm your West Orange County community correspondent, Tylisa Hampton.
Those things are expensive, too. Tylisa, thank you. If something like this happened to you, we want to hear about it. Click on the Contact Us tab on clickorlando.com or the News 6 app and fill out the form. We'll do our best to look into. I mean, they want to charge like $500-600 to rent one of those.
Just for one day?
For one day.
That is
Steve.
crazy. All right, meteorologist Jonathan Kegas joining us. We do have some storms popping along the coast right now.
We do, yeah. These are all coming about from the I-4 corridor. We have the East Coast sea breeze coming in, West Coast sea breeze going towards the coast tonight. You see the green line here. This is our outflow boundary that we've been tracking for you guys for the last couple of hours here, pushing back towards Holopod, Deer Park, helping to fire up these storms. You can track these storms tonight by downloading the free News 6 weather app. Of course, get the latest forecast as well. We're taking closer in and you can clearly see that green line. We have a lot of intersection going on. There's the outflow boundary right there. We have the West Coast sea breeze pushing in, so that's helping to kind of force up all the air to get the thunderstorms going tonight, and that's why we have the west to east motion tonight. Deer Park, we have a downpour developing just on the south side of town right now. That's likely going to expand, and all of this is going to try to push towards the Space Coast. Yeehaw Junction, Kenansville, good evening. We have storms developing as well just towards our west. Give it another 15-20 minutes, and where those are going to be close by. But keeping an eye on this one for you guys in Volusia County. This one's heading towards eventually Scottsmore in the next few minutes. We do have lightning strikes already in town, though. Same for us in Oak Hill. These are coming from west to east tonight. You see the darker reds popping up again. This is the very heavy rainfall that is moving out of parts of Seminole County, the far eastern part of Seminole County, Volusia, and then also into extreme northern Brevard County right now. So just be on the lookout. We have some heavy thunderstorms moving in. Nothing severe right now. That could change, though, as it approaches the coast. I think future radar right on the money here. This is 7 o'clock, maybe about 30 minutes behind schedule. But there you go. As we get towards 7 o'clock, most of this is going to be exiting toward the Atlantic Ocean. Then we dry things out. Think it's a nice, quiet but muggy start to your Friday. There we go at 11 o'clock. I think same deal, same very similar day to what we had today. And that same west-east motion happens. We fire up some thunderstorms as we go closer to tomorrow evening. Of course, watching these closely for high school football. Best opportunity for any kind of lightning delay is going to be along into the east of I-4 and then closer to the coast. So we'll be really watching that tomorrow night as those games get underway. 11 o'clock on your Friday evening. A stray downpour still hanging around, but nonetheless, we should be quieting things down. Here's a really cool shot here at Port Canaveral as those thunderstorms are closing in from the north and west. Live look with our Launch Credit Union camera. This evening, we have air temperatures back to the upper 90s under a mainly clear sky right now. We're at 77 New Smyrna Beach. Thanks to that rain-cooled air from the thunderstorms. Mount Dora, good evening. We're back to 81. Now here's a look at tomorrow.
Your forecast is sponsored by Publix.
Temperatures tomorrow get back to the low 90s. Another really warm and sticky day. We're going to keep that around for the next couple of days. There are the systems we're watching in the tropics. This one does not have a name yet. Likely we'll get one. This is Umberto. That one stays away from us, but could influence where the one that's leaving the Caribbean eventually goes over the next couple of days. Again, modeling on this, going to take both of these storms to the north. Again, watching the one to the south. This could be a really crazy looking satellite image by the time we get into Monday. Most model guidance has a solution similar to this, with both of these becoming a hurricane. Again, this is the one by Monday afternoon that is in the Caribbean right now. Still cautiously optimistic for Florida that this stays parallel to the Florida Peninsula, but certainly watching closely for the southeast corner and any kind of trends that try to push it back towards the northeast side of the Florida Peninsula. So a lot could shake out as this thing develops just north of the Dominican Republic as we speak. 60% shot for storms on Saturday. Same deal as we move into Sunday. Drier air behind that storm, though, guys, moves in for the upcoming work week.
Jonathan, thank you. Well, after the break, meet the local extreme athlete judging others looking for glory this weekend. Then at 6, a Facebook scam that cost one couple $12,000. The warning from experts about looking at an item before you buy it. So if you've watched News 6 at any point in the last few days, you've seen us mention Trooper Steve and Sandra Ray from XL 1067 are teaming up for this.
That's right. It's called the Red Bull Tandem Roller Coaster Competition. It's happening on Saturday. 30 teams of 2 people will attempt to cross a difficult obstacle course on creatively designed tandem bikes over water without falling in. Today, Trooper Steve welcomed one of the judges into Results One to talk about the upcoming contest.
Megan, thank you for joining. I know you got a crazy, adrenaline-filled schedule.
It's going to be a crazy few days.
It's about to get crazy here. So, Megan, talk to me a little bit. You are a professional wakeboarder.
I am.
But I was doing the research, you know, being a cop at trade, I got to look people up a little bit. And you were into gymnastics, though, originally.
Yeah, I was. And, you know, that really set up such a great foundation for me, having the air awareness.
Okay.
I feel like it just built such a good foundation.
Right.
And made flipping and doing my sport a lot easier.
She says flipping like it's just normal for everybody. I heard about you, and I started to look at some of the stuff you've done. This is intense. Like, you're holding records. You've won competitions. Talk to me a little bit about the professional behind Megan that makes this all happen.
Yeah, I mean, wakeboarding is definitely more of a male-dominated sport, and when I was getting into it, there weren't as many females.
You're killing it.
Yeah, and actually right there is me doing a never-been-done trick before in a contest. That was the second time I landed it. I'm an 8-time world champion. I won my 9th Masters title. That's where I landed that trick as well.
Unbelievable.
But it takes a lot, you know. I mean, it's hard on my body, mentally too. But you know, I love it, and I love like pushing the boundaries for my sport and just being a part of it.
I feel like Steve's really trying to butter up the judges.
I think so.
Inviting them in.
Take a ride with me in Results One.
Exactly.
How has she won 8 titles? She
That's
doesn't
awesome.
look old enough
Yeah.
to have done that.
Well, News 6 continues with more at 6. Here's what we're working on for News 6 at 6.
More drama at Epic Universe involving a Stardust Racers coaster ride. The park is being sued by a woman who says she got injured while riding months ago. All of this happening the day before the funeral of a man who died after riding that coaster just days ago. Plus, an emergency council meeting in Eatonville over a historic piece of property. A preview of what we can expect later tonight. The day before a funeral for the man who died after riding Stardust Racers at Epic Universe, Universal is sued by a different rider. What she says happened during her ride. Plus, an emergency meeting in Eatonville in minutes on the future of a special piece of property. We broke down the news of a deal, but now the town council says they were left in the dark.
Now I know. I'll never buy nothing without seeing it again.
And a couple scammed out of 12 grand on Facebook Marketplace. How to keep this from happening to you. News 6 at 6 starts now. We begin tonight with a live look at the 408 in Winter Garden. Kind of nasty out there, rain and clouds overhead. The radar is lighting up in spots tonight. Meteorologist Jonathan Keg is tracking the latest for us.
Yeah, we have some of those downpours. Of course, you can see those with your own eyes with the sky cam there over Winter Garden. The heaviest stuff is drifting closer to Apopka, a couple of lightning strikes leaving Ocoee, and then working up I-4 eventually towards Winter Springs. The strongest stuff, though, is in parts of eastern Seminole County, Volusia County, getting into Brevard County as well. Look at all the lightning here. We'll take it closer in toward Oak Hill. We have the lightning strikes striking well out ahead of the parent thunderstorm tonight. And again, in about 15 minutes, give or take, we are going to see that heavy rain move in toward Oak Hill. Scottsmore, it's arriving as we speak. We were showing you that about 15 minutes ago, that it would be right on our doorstep. Mims into Titusville, about 30 minutes away from some very heavy rain. Watch that lightning again as it starts to work through. And then also more heavy stuff working into Deer Park, Holopah tonight. Watching that very closely for you. We'll talk much more about where these are headed and have the latest on the tropics coming up at about 6:15.
Thank you, Jonathan. Right now, we continue to press Universal for answers about what happened the night Kevin Rodriguez Zavala rode that Stardust Racers roller coaster at Epic Universe. His family attorneys contend that Kevin's pre-existing spinal condition had nothing to do with his death, while Universal says everything on the ride worked as it was supposed to. Amid this investigation, we're also learning new details about a lawsuit filed unrelated to Zavala's death. News 6 investigator Mike DeForest has been digging deeper into that. He is in the newsroom. So, Mike, this lawsuit is from a woman who was on that same ride months ago.
That's right. A woman named Sandy Streets just filed this lawsuit against Universal Orlando, claiming she was injured on the Stardust Racers back in April. Now, according to this new lawsuit, while riding defendant Universal's Stardust Racers roller coaster, plaintiff Sandy Streets' head shook violently and slammed into her seat's headrest throughout the duration of the ride. Now, Streets claims that she suffered permanent injuries. She accuses Universal of failing to warn her that her head would be shaken and slammed against the headrest. Now, for a little perspective, personal injury lawsuits like this one against theme parks are not uncommon. This one is noteworthy because Epic Universe and this particular roller coaster have only been open to the public for about 4 months, and this woman's alleged injuries actually occurred before the park's grand opening during previews. Also, her lawsuit comes just 1 week after that man died on the same roller coaster under mysterious circumstances. Now, Universal Orlando has not yet responded to this lawsuit, which was just filed yesterday. In fact, it doesn't even appear the company's been formally served with this litigation yet. Reporting live in the newsroom, Mike DeForest, News 6. Matt?
We continue to press Universal for answers about what happened the night that Kevin Rodriguez Zavala rode the roller coaster Stardust Racers at Epic Universe. I'm News 6's Mike Valenti, your Orlando community correspondent, and the attorney representing Kevin's family contends that Kevin's pre-existing spinal condition had nothing to do with his death, while Universal maintains that everything on the ride was working as intended.
We want to be clear, unequivocally clear, that he had no medical emergency. He was just fine.
That was attorney Ben Crump Wednesday at a press conference with the family of Kevin Rodriguez Zavala. Crump said that after speaking to witnesses and conferring with experts, his firm is scrutinizing the restraints on the ride.
That is their concern, that the restraints were the issue. But we will find out, hopefully, we will find out more when Universal is transparent to let us see videos.
There's still a lot of things to be looking for in this case, and that's because no case is just cut and dry.
Ken Martin has been an amusement ride safety analyst and consultant for decades.
What exactly happened is to be determined at a later date.
In a letter to staff this week, the president and COO of Universal Orlando Resort said everything on the ride worked as intended. The equipment was intact and team members followed procedures. A spokesperson with the Department of Agriculture said the state's findings aligned with Universal's.
They came to that very quickly, was very premature. You've got to get the experts in.
Martin notes that it may very well turn out that the lap restraint functioned as intended, but that does not mean it was the most suitable restraint for Kevin.
It's all going to depend on, number one, your weight, or the proposed weight of the rider. It's going to depend on the way the rider's sitting. It hasn't been that long since we reimagined roller coaster restraints. I think we're going to have to go back to the drawing board.
Universal's Guide for Safety and Accessibility advises riders on Stardust Racers that they should be able to independently maintain an upright position and support their torso, neck, and head while absorbing sudden and dramatic movements. It also advises guests that they must be able to take a small step into the ride vehicle, either independently or with help from a companion. We reached out again to Universal Thursday to ask several questions, including about the claims regarding the restraints. We have yet to hear back. I'm your Orlando community correspondent, Mike Valenti, News 6.
Well, in just under a half an hour, the town council in Eatonville is holding an emergency meeting. Council members say they were left in the dark about the mayor's proposed deal with a charity to buy a historic piece of land. News 6's Ginger Gadsden broke this story about the plans for the Hungerford School site. She is back in Eatonville tonight and has a preview from what should be a very interesting meeting. Ginger?
Yeah, interesting and perhaps quite lively, Matt. On Tuesday, we were the first ones to tell you the news of this proposed deal that Mayor Angie Gardner made with Dr. Phillips Charity and OCPS. And the folks we talked to here in Eatonville said that this was the answer that they had been hoping for, some saying they had been praying for an answer for decades now. While those members people we spoke to did not include members of the town council who say that they were simply blindsided by this deal and were left in the dark, and it's not the deal that they wanted. So we woke up this morning to news of a 6:30 emergency meeting with the town council that's going to happen in under a half an hour. And they said that they did not agree to what the mayor is asking for. Here's part of what that press release said. It said that members of the town council feel like it's an elaborate plan by the Dr. Phillips Foundation to acquire the Robert Hungerford property. And I had the opportunity to speak with the vice mayor just a short while ago. Here's what he had to say.
It seems like there's already been a proposed deal struck with Dr. Phillips Charities and the Orange County School Board.
I think we need to renegotiate and go back to the table with the town council.
And of course, again, we're talking about that 117 acres left of the former site of the Robert Hungerford School. And earlier, when we spoke to the folks from Dr. Phillips Charity, they said that one of the reasons that they really like this proposed deal is because Mayor Angie Gardner is great at collaboration. Here's what the chairman of Dr. Phillips Charities had to say about working with Mayor Gardner.
She's never shown a fear of collaboration to me. I remember when we worked on the project trying to get the state to designate Eatonville as the location for the State Museum for Black History. Yeah. She reached out to people all across the county to help put that proposal together. As we worked on the master plan, she reached out to some of the best in the world, with Baker Barrios leading the effort and facilitating that discussion. So she's not one that says, okay, if we can't do it in-house, we won't do it. She's reaching out and getting the best in class people to help her plot a future for the town.
And that's what we heard over and over again about Mayor Gardner, that she is not afraid to collaborate and bring other people to the table. And she says that's exactly what she did with this proposed deal. And she expected pushback, and she's going to likely get an earful tonight at this emergency town council meeting. It's scheduled to start at 6:30. We are live at the Denton Johnson Community Center. And of course, residents will have 3 minutes to have their say again, and we will be here when they take the microphone and let you know what happens. But for now, live in Eatonville, Ginger Gadsden, News 6.
All right, Ginger, thank you. Well, how about this? A raging maniac. That's how the Osceola County Sheriff described the man just arrested in connection to a road rage shooting in Point Siena. It happened earlier this week. The suspect was driven to Miami by his girlfriend, where he was then taken into custody. The sheriff's office says Jose Astacio sits in Miami-Dade County Jail, where he will be extradited back to Osceola County to face charges. Sheriff Blackman says the driver and his passenger were shot during a confrontation with another driver on Cypress Parkway. Deputies say after a verbal confrontation, the shots were fired. The passenger was shot in the face while the driver's head was grazed. The two then drove to the Florida Point Siena Medical Center, where the driver was treated and released. The passenger was airlifted to Osceola Regional.
We don't know each other, so this is truly a straight road rage incident and just a pure terror on the highway. What if the rounds had escaped this vehicle into another vehicle? It shot anybody that's innocent, because this guy's a raging maniac.
The sheriff said he could not comment on whether or not the man's girlfriend knew he was hiding from sheriffs. Astacio faces multiple charges, with the most serious being attempted murder. We're working to find out why several construction workers were taken into custody this afternoon in Brevard County. Our crews were near the scene at Fisk Boulevard when members of the sheriff's office and FHP put the men into handcuffs. When we get some more details on that story, we'll let you know right away. News 6 at 6 will be right back, including a warning to see an item before you ever buy one. Up next, the couple that lost their life savings on Facebook Marketplace. The scam experts say they need you to be aware of.
This portion of the news is sponsored by Advent Health, helping the communities we serve to feel whole.
News 6 uncovers a disturbing trend of online vehicle scams targeting hard-working families. An Orange County couple who lost their life savings shares their story of deception that started on Facebook Marketplace. News 6 investigator Louis Baldwin has the story.
Yeah, I bought it out in Mount Dora with 30,000 miles on it.
Jeffrey Colcatty enjoys his 2002 Chevy Avalanche so much.
These are all toolboxes.
He decided he wanted a newer version, and just like it.
The back actually comes out.
He says his search took him to Facebook Marketplace, where he thought he found the perfect vehicle.
So I found this one on the internet. Okay. 8,000 mile one. Thought it was a great deal. The guy called me back. We talked. You know, he's telling me how nice the truck is, pristine.
The company then sent the vehicle's Carfax report and a purchase agreement. The seller was Driveline Motor. The sale price, $12,300, and it was signed by the CEO. Colcatty and his wife were ready to go.
At any point, did you feel something might be off?
No.
Jeffrey wired the $12,000 and the signs of fraud emerged. The company's website disappeared, phone numbers were disconnected, and emails vanished. It was all the savings the couple had.
I lived my whole life, never had a savings account. That was the first savings account I ever had. Excuse me.
The crooks used a name similar to a real business. Instead of Driveline Motor Cars, they used Driveline Motor. According to the FTC, the amount of money Americans lose to fraud increases every year. In 2024, it was $12.5 billion, a 25% increase from the year before.
Shame on them. Shame on Facebook. They shouldn't even have a marketplace.
Trusting someone online, especially on a social site, you have to do the vetting.
Holly Sammons is the president of the Better Business Bureau of Central Florida. She says people assume that social sites have protections in place to prevent fraud.
It had everything on it.
They don't.
The social site is not going to do the vetting for you. Just because there's a listing doesn't mean anyone has done any sort of vetting. That's on you.
She says when it comes to high-ticket items, don't send more money than you can afford to lose. And definitely don't send money without seeing and inspecting the item first. And if possible, use a credit card instead of wiring cash.
I mean, now I know. Now I know. I'll never buy nothing without seeing it again.
Remember, don't fall for this game. Don't get ripped off. But if you do, email me at theinvestigators@WKMG.com. I'm Louis Bolden, News 6.
You have to be so careful these days. We have Jonathan Kegas, our meteorologist, guiding us through a night that's a bit tumultuous for some folks.
Yeah, especially right along the coast, Matt. That's where we have the biggest stuff going on right now. There's a few stray showers, a rogue rumble of thunder to the west closer to I-4, but that's fizzling out. Where we have the stuff rocking tonight is east of I-4 and then closer to us along the Atlantic coast, especially in extreme southern Volusia and along the Space Coast this evening. There they are right there. A lot of lightning strikes in this square box here. The lightning tracker, well over 250 lightning strikes over the last few minutes here as we are watching this again continue to work its way from the west to the east. We were watching you guys in Oak Hill a little earlier this evening. Now we have the heaviest stuff pushing in as we speak. Mims, same deal. That is now on our doorstep. Titusville, we're a few minutes away, but I want to caution again, we still have the lightning. If you do have the free News 6 weather app, you likely got that push alert that there is a lightning in the area. You can dial up the radar right from that push alert. We have more stronger thunderstorms coming out of Holopaw and Deer Park tonight, or at least moving in. There's that free News 6 weather app, and that is going to eventually head toward us in Rockledge. You see that green line there. Let me get the telestrator out and point it out. This green line, this is the rain-cooled air, the outflow, so it's likely going to get gusty before we have the thunderstorm actually push through. That's going to happen in Rockledge, into Cocoa Beach. Watching that closely for you over the next about an hour, give or take, before all of this starts to push back out to sea. I think Future Radar has it right on the money here. 7 o'clock, we're looking pretty much where we are right now, and then that's going to push off, and I think the rest of the evening through Central Florida is quiet. I'll be watching for a repeat performance tomorrow. This is 5 o'clock, and we'll bubble some storms up again. really watching for high school football. There will be a stray downpour along and to the west of I-4. I think the best opportunity for any kind of lightning delays or heavier rain is going to be closer to the coast. That's 10 o'clock and still dealing with a couple of downpours out there. So the further east you are, closer to I-95, the better opportunity for the high school football games to be compromised. Look at this shot here. Again, this is from Port Canaveral. If you're not looking at your TV screen, look at this. We have a shelf cloud developing in the background. You see that lowering there, that rain-cooled air that I just pointed out. That's that outflow boundary forcing up some of that warm, moist air. Nobody hates that word, but that's how we get those shelf clouds, those really jagged clouds pushing through before the actual storm hits. Live look with our Launch Credit Union camera. Really cool shot. If you happen to snap a picture of it, clickorlando.com/pins, or the free News 6 weather app also has an icon in there called Pin It. That's where you can upload those pictures. We can see when you can do so safely. There's a lot of lightning around. Now here's a look at tomorrow.
Sponsored by Strata Air Conditioning and Heating. AC emergency, you ought to call Strata.
Rain chances back to 50% tomorrow, especially the further east you are. We're back to the low to mid 90s tomorrow. Tropical front, there are our twin systems. This one is yet to get a name, the Caribbean. It's lifting north of the Caribbean. It likely will. This is Umberto. That one's not going to come close to the United States, but still could have an impact on where the Caribbean system goes. I want to show you the latest computer forecast when it comes to this. Again, likely going through the Bahamas and then watching this trend. We talked about that upper low over the deep south that's going to try to grab it and push it back towards the coastline. Still cautiously optimistic for Florida, but the southeast corner of the United States watching closely for sure. 60% shot for storms getting into the start of the weekend. We'll have the opportunity for a drier weather behind that system, guys, early next work week.
Ooh, drier weather.
I like that.
Nice. All right, Sports Director Jamie Say is here. Jamie, the UCF Knights are working through a lot this week.
Man, they are. I mean, what a week. I mean, they're grieving, and at the same time, they're preparing to beat Kansas State. A preview of the Knights' Big 12 opener is on the way. Plus, this wrestling superstar is about to lay the smackdown on Orlando as the WWE takes over the Kia tomorrow. Meet Jade Cargill next. Welcome back to News 6. It has been a week like no other for the UCF football team. As the Knights grieve the loss of offensive line coach Sean Clark, they are focusing on trying to beat Kansas State this Saturday. It's the first road test and the Big 12 opener for the Knights, who would be 4-0 with a win this weekend. They face a Kansas State squad that struggled out of the gate. Wildcats are 1-3, coming off a bye, but Scott Frost knows the Knights must be at their best, especially in the face of overwhelming adversity.
To this point, every challenge we put in front of the kids, they've done a pretty good job with it. You know, this is a whole new challenge. Fighting through emotions of the week, going on the road, playing in front of an opponent's crowd. You know, some new challenges that a lot of the guys, frankly, haven't faced yet. So we're trying to prepare them as well as we can, and it's going to be a tough test, and we got to try to give ourselves a good chance.
In high school football, when players transfer schools, it can take time to adjust. But Lake Brantley's new quarterback has helped turn around the football program. Jackson Stecker has led the Patriots to a 4-0 start. The sophomore been putting up big numbers, throwing for over 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns. Jackson knows there's pressure on his shoulders, but he's enjoying his first season as a Patriot, his new teammates, and Lake Brantley's perfect start. They visit Seminole tomorrow.
It's been a blast, playing these bigger schools that we did at the previous place. It feels good to just, have this environment at Brantley, just student section, the fans here. I feel like we trust each other more than a school's been playing with each other for a long time. Coaches trusting us, we trusting coaches. A team's built on trust, and we have a lot of it right now.
So the WWE takes over Orlando tomorrow night. Friday night SmackDown will deliver a 2-hour body slam of action at the Kia Center. Among the stars getting in the ring is up-and-comer Jade Cargill. She's got a great story. 33-year-old mom from Florida. She played college basketball, got her master's degree, was a child psychologist, but now Jade is in pro wrestling, and I talked to her.
It takes special individuals to get into WWE. I mean, what keeps you going?
Two things. My daughter. I want her to know that she could do any and everything that she wants to do. And she could pick it up at 30, 35, whatever. And then the other thing is the hate. What hate? I eat the hate. I thrive on the hate. If you tell me I can't do it, I'll do it.
I like that.
That's awesome.
She is
What a
getting it
character.
done. And she is ripped.
Yeah.
I mean, wow. She was awesome.
Very cool. Hey, more news coming up at 9 o'clock at clickorlando.com on the News 6 Plus streaming app. Have yourself a great night.